The pressure is a constant companion. Down here, 400 feet below the sunlight, the world shrinks to the yellow cone of my submersible's lights. The Odyssey hums around me, a metal bubble against the crushing weight of the Atlantic. My name is Dr. Aris Thorne. The media calls me a treasure hunter. My academic rivals call me a scavenger. I call myself a maritime salvage specialist. It sounds cleaner. My job is finding things that are lost. Most of the time, they are things people want to be found. Spanish gold, lost shipping containers, sunken yachts. Today, it's gold. A 17th century galleon, the Santa Maria de la Concepción. A ghost on the sonar. A myth in the archives. Until now. My comms crackle. Aris, anything? Ben's voice is tinny, distant. He's my eyes and ears on the surface ship, the Tempest, floating in the calm Bahamian waters far above. Just mud and shadows, Ben, I say, my eyes scanning the sonar feed. The scanners show a high-density mass, but the seabed is silt. It's buried deep. Clients are getting anxious. They want gold, not geology lessons. They'll get what they paid for. I adjust the thrusters, and the Odyssey glides over a deep trench. I'm looking for the debris field, a wreck this old. It doesn't sink nicely. It scatters. I don't believe in curses. I don't believe in vortexes or time warps or sea monsters. I don't believe in the Bermuda Triangle. I believe in methane hydrates exploding from the seafloor. I believe in rogue waves that can split a freighter in two. I believe in magnetic anomalies that spin compasses. And I believe, above all, in human error. The ocean doesn't need magic to kill you. It just needs an opportunity. This area, east of the Florida coast, is a highway. It's littered with wrecks. But the Concepción is special. Its manifest lists 4 tons of Incan gold. Wait, I say, leaning forward. My lights hit something. Not wood, not ballast stones. Metal. Ben, I'm seeing something. It's not right. It's not part of the galleon. I pilot the Odyssey closer. The robotic arm whirs, its spotlight cutting the darkness. It's aluminum. A wing. Aris, Ben says, his voice suddenly sharp. I'm picking up interference. A faint signal. It's not from your sub. I see it, I whisper. It's not just a wing, it's a plane. No, several planes. They are scattered across the trench wall, almost perfectly preserved, as if they landed yesterday. The paint is barely faded. That's a TBM Avenger, I say, my heart starting to hammer against my ribs. A World War II torpedo bomber. Run the tail numbers, I command, maneuvering the camera. The lights illuminate the insignia. FT 2 8. The comms go silent. Ben knows the history. Every pilot in Florida knows the history. Aris. Ben's voice is a strained whisper. That's Flight 19. The legend. The 5 Avenger bombers that vanished in 1945. The flight that made the Bermuda Triangle famous. They shouldn't be here. Their last known position was over 100 miles northeast, I say, my mind racing. The search patterns? They never looked here. It's impossible. The signal, Ben says. It's stronger. It's Aris. It's not a W2 frequency. It's modern. It's a locator ping. Digital. A digital ping? From what? I push the Odyssey toward the lead plane, the one marked FT-28. It's wedged between 2 rocks, its cockpit canopy shattered. It's coming from inside, Ben says, right from the cockpit. I use the sub's manipulator arm. It's a delicate operation. This is a gravesite. These men were declared lost at sea 80 years ago. The arm reaches through the broken canopy. It's not military, I say, my eyes fixed on the video feed. It's an orange box. A flight data recorder. Aris, Ben says. Avengers didn't have black boxes in 1945. Those weren't standard for decades. I know. The box is new. It's wedged under the pilot's seat, humming with a small green light. The source of the ping. Who put it there? Maybe a recovery team? NOAA? No, I say, shaking my head. If NOAA found Flight 19, it would be the biggest news in maritime history. This site is unknown, undisturbed. Then what is it? I feel a cold dread mixed with a strange, intense curiosity. The kind of curiosity that gets people killed. I don't know, I say. But I'm finding out. Aris, we are here for the Concepción. The clients. The clients can wait. I guide the manipulator claw. It closes around the orange box. The metal is cold, smooth, and completely out of place. I pull it free. The moment the box clears the wreckage, the pinging stops. Ben? Did we lose the feed? No. No, the signal just died. The frequency is flat. You got it. I hold the box up to the Odyssey's camera. It's heavy, no markings, no serial numbers. Just smooth, dark, orange metal. What do we do, Aris? We bring it up, we secure it, and we don't tell anyone. Not the clients, not the Coast Guard, no one. This is something else. Copy that. Bringing you up. The ascent is agonizingly slow. The Odyssey rises from the trench, leaving the ghosts of Flight 19 behind in the dark. My mind races faster than the sub. A modern black box. In a plane lost in 1945. In a location nobody ever thought to look. The galleon and its gold are forgotten. This isn't history. This isn't salvage. This is impossible. We break the surface. The sunlight is blinding. The Tempest maneuvers alongside, the heavy crane preparing to lift the Odyssey onto the deck. Ben is waiting by the railing, his face pale. The sub settles into its cradle with a heavy clang. The hatch hisses open. I climb out, the orange box held tight in my hand. It feels cold, even in the tropical heat. Let's get it to the lab, I say. Ben just nods. We lock ourselves in the dry lab. The Tempest is a top-of-the-line research vessel. My lab is my sanctuary. I place the box on the steel table. It's not just a locator, I say, running diagnostic sensors over it. It's solid state. It's a data vault, and it's active. It just wasn't broadcasting. Broadcasting what? Ben asks. I don't know. I find a port, a sealed interface that doesn't match any known connection. This isn't standard, it's custom. Military, Black Ops. Aris, look at the casing. Ben points to a faint etching, almost invisible. A symbol. A circle with 3 interlocking lines in the center. I've never seen that before. Me neither. I work for an hour, bypassing the proprietary lock. My tools are good. I'm better. I'm in, I finally say. I'm bypassing the encryption. It's not encryption. It's just old code. No, not old. Alien. Aris, you're not making sense. I can't access the main files. They're locked. But the buffer, the last thing it was doing, it was running a program. What program? I watch the data scroll across my screen. It's not a distress call. It's not a flight log. It's a coordinate. A single, repeating GPS coordinate. Ben, I say, pulling up our navigation charts. Plot this. Ben types the numbers into the master console. The map zooms out, then zooms back in. It centers on a patch of the Atlantic. That's deep in the triangle, Ben says. Way off the shipping lanes, way off everything. Is there anything there? A seamount? An island? Ben shakes his head. No, nothing. It's blank. The charts call it the dead zone. Satellites get weird readings there. Low-level magnetic distortion. Nobody goes there. There's no reason to. A coordinate, pointing to nowhere. Broadcast from an impossible object, hidden inside a legendary wreck. It's a beacon, I whisper. It wasn't a distress call. It was an invitation. Or a warning, Ben says. I stare at the screen. The gold is gone from my mind. The skepticism I've built my career on. It's cracking. For the first time in my life, I looked into the abyss, and the abyss wasn't empty. It was holding a sign, and it was pointing the way. Aris, Ben says, looking at my face. We should call this in. NOAA, the Navy. No, I shake my head. If we call them, this box disappears into a government vault. We'll never know. Know what? It's probably a lost weather drone that got tangled in the wreck. A weather drone that looks like a black box? Inside a plane that's been missing for 80 years? No. This is the answer, Ben. This is the answer to why they vanished. Aris, don't go down this rabbit hole. We're salvage operators. We find gold. We go home. Not this time. I close the laptop, securing the data. I pick up the orange box. What are you doing? Ben asks. Refueling, I say. We're going to that coordinate. That's insane. It's 300 miles of open ocean into a known dead zone based on a magic box we found in a ghost plane. Yes, I say. Exactly. Tell the clients the search is delayed. A storm is coming in. There is no storm, Aris. I look out the porthole at the perfectly calm blue water. A storm is coming, Ben. I can feel it. I walk to the bridge. I have to see this. I'm a man of science, a man of logic, but the object in my hand is heavier than steel. It's heavy with questions, and I've spent my entire life looking for answers. Aris! Ben yells, following me. Think about this. This is your reputation, your life. What's a reputation worth if you're afraid to use it? I hit the intercom. All hands, secure the Odyssey. We're changing course. I am Dr. Aris Thorne, and I am a skeptic, but I am also an explorer, and that coordinate, it's a blank spot on the map, and I am going to fill it in. We steamed northeast for 24 hours. The Tempest cut through the waves, a lone speck of white against an endless empty blue. The clients were furious. I didn't care. I stayed in the lab, trying to crack the main files in the orange box. Ben stayed on the bridge, chain drinking coffee and scanning the horizon. It's not code, I muttered, staring at the interface. The data was structured like a helix. It looked more like DNA than a file system. It's a map, but the key is missing. We're 100 miles out, Aris, Ben said over the comms. Weather is clear, seas are calm, nothing on the radar, nothing on the satellite. We are completely alone. Good, keep pushing. What are you expecting to find? An island that isn't on the charts? I'm expecting to find why it isn't on the charts. I left the lab and joined him on the bridge. The air felt heavy, static. The sun was too bright. Look at this, Ben said, tapping the navigation console. Our GPS is stable, but the long-range comms, full of static. And the magnetometer is, well, it's unhappy. The needle on the old analog gauge was twitching, not spinning, just vibrating, like it was nervous. It's a magnetic anomaly, I said. Expected. It's why they call it a dead zone. That's not just an anomaly, Aris. That's a pulse. It's regular, like a heartbeat. I listened. Over the hum of the ship's engines, I could hear it. A faint thrum, thrum, thrum in the air. It's probably seismic activity, I said, trying to convince myself. 50 miles to the coordinate, Ben announced. The thrum grew louder. It wasn't just in the air. I could feel it through the deck plates. Aris, Ben said, his voice low. Look. Aft. I turned. A ship. It was massive. Not a research vessel. This thing was military grade, painted stark black, with sharp, radar-deflecting angles. It moved fast, cutting a white wound in the water. It's not broadcasting any identification, Ben said, checking the AIS, Automatic Identification System. It's running dark. How did it find us? They must have tracked our heading from the galleon site, or they were tracking the box. My blood ran cold. A synthesized voice blared across the open water, so loud it rattled our windows. RV Tempest, this is the Ethelred. You are in restricted access waters. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Restricted by who? I grabbed the radio. This is Captain Thorne of the Tempest. We are in international waters, conducting private research. Identify yourself. The radio hissed. Dr. Aris Thorne, the skeptic. We are disappointed. I froze. How do you know my name? We know many things. We know you found our property in the FT-28 wreck. We would like it back. Your property? The beacon. It does not belong to you. Give it to us, and we will let you leave. Who is us? The black ship didn't slow down. It was cutting to intercept. Your ship is fast, Dr. Thorne, the voice said. But ours is faster. This is your only warning. On our radar, 4 smaller contacts detached from the Ethelred. Fast assault boats. Ben, I said, my voice hard. Full throttle, now. Aris, we can't outrun them. We don't have to outrun them. We just have to reach the coordinate. Reach the... Aris, that's insane. We're running into the anomaly, not away from it. Do it! The Tempest's engines roared. The ship surged forward, spray kicking up over the bow. The assault boats were gaining. 10 miles to the coordinate, Ben yelled, fighting the wheel as the ship shuddered. The thrum was deafening now. The magnetometer wasn't twitching. It was spinning uselessly, a broken toy. Aris! The sky! I looked up. The sky was wrong. The clouds directly above the coordinate were moving, not drifting. They were rotating, a perfect swirling circle of white, like water going down a drain. What is that? Ben whispered. That's not a hurricane. It's too small, too perfect. It's a white squall, I said, my knuckles white on the console. No, it's something else. Aris! They're firing! A burst of automatic weapon fire stitched across our wake. They weren't trying to sink us. They were aiming for our engines. 5 miles. The water ahead of us was no longer blue. It was gray and agitated. The waves were choppy, moving against the wind. Ares! Ben shouted, pointing at the sonar. The seafloor was gone. What do you mean, gone? The sonar isn't returning a bottom echo. It's just nothing. It's reading 99,000 to 999 feet. It's bottomless. The ethelred was right behind us, close enough that I could see armed men on its deck. 1 mile. We hit the edge of the gray water. The Tempest didn't just shudder. It screamed, the sound of metal twisting. Alarms blared across the bridge. Compass is dead. GPS is dead, Ben yelled. All navigation is offline. Ares, the engines. They're losing power. The thrum was inside my head. It was a physical blow, a deep, resonant bass note that vibrated my teeth. We were floating, dead in the water. The assault boats closed in, surrounding us. The black ship, the Ethelred, glided to a stop 100 yards away. A man stepped onto its foredeck. He was tall, dressed in a sharp black suit that looked absurd in the middle of the ocean. He held a pair of binoculars. Dr. Thorne! The synthesized voice boomed again, likely from the man himself, using a loudspeaker. A valiant effort, but your journey ends here. He lowered the binoculars. Now, the box. I looked at Ben. His face was slick with sweat. I looked at the orange box, which I'd set on the console. The small green light on the box was no longer green. It was flashing, rapidly, red. It's talking to something, I whispered. Aris, what do we do? We're trapped. I looked at the water, the strange, gray, agitated water. I looked at the swirling vortex of clouds above us. This place, this coordinate, it wasn't a destination. It was a gate, and the box was the key. Aris? Ben pleaded. They want the box? I said, grabbing it. They can have it. What? Before Ben could stop me, I ran out onto the bridge wing. The man in the black suit raised his binoculars again. I held the box up for him to see. You want it? I yelled. Throw it to the boat, the loudspeaker commanded. No, I shouted back. You want it? Come and get it. I hurled the box, not toward the boats. I threw it straight into the churning, gray water at the center of the anomaly. The man in the suit didn't move for a second. When he finally spoke, his voice was no longer calm. It was a roar of fury. Open fire! Scuttle the ship! Get that box! But it was too late. The second the orange box hit the water, the thrum stopped. A new sound began, a high-pitched whine. It came from beneath us, from the bottomless trench. Aris! Ben screamed from the doorway. Get inside. The water where the box landed began to glow, a deep, impossible, electric blue. What did you do? Ben shouted. I knocked, I said, a wild, terrified grin on my face. The world tilted. It wasn't a wave. The ocean itself was dropping. Hold on, I screamed, grabbing the railing. The Tempest was sliding down, a whirlpool, a vortex. It opened up beneath us, a kilometer wide. The swirling clouds above mirrored it perfectly. We were in the center of an hourglass. The assault boats were capsizing, their crews thrown into the spiral. The massive Ethelred was fighting, its thrusters tearing the sea apart, but it was too slow. It was caught by the edge, its bow lifting high into the air as its stern was sucked down. The man in the suit was gone, washed away. The Tempest was spinning faster and faster. The force threw me against the bulkhead. "Ben!" I yelled. "I'm here!" He was strapped into the captain's chair, his face a mask of terror. "The ship is breaking up." I crawled back into the bridge. The windows were no longer showing sky. They were showing a wall of swirling blue-green water. We were going under. We weren't sinking. We were being pulled. The roar was deafening. The ship groaned, the sound of a beast dying. Then, darkness. The windows went black. The roar was replaced by a pressurized silence. All the alarms died. The engines died. The lights flickered. We were falling through a cold, silent, impossible void. I unstrapped myself and floated in the sudden weightlessness. Ben was doing the same, his eyes wide in the faint red glow of the emergency lighting. "Aris," he whispered, "where are we?" I looked out the forward viewport. The blackness was absolute. Then I saw lights. Not lights. Sparks. Tiny blue-white sparks, like fireflies in the dark. They were drifting up past the viewport as we fell down. "I don't know," I said. I think we're inside the anomaly." My skepticism was gone. My logic was shattered. I was a man of science, and I had just fallen off the edge of the map. The Tempest fell for what felt like an eternity. Then, a jolt. A massive, bone-jarring impact that threw us both to the deck. The sound of metal tearing. Water rushing. But not water. The ship settled. The terrible sound of scraping metal stopped. Silence. I pulled myself up. "Ben? You alive?" "Yeah," he coughed. "I think so. What did we hit?" I stumbled to the viewport, wiping the condensation from the inside. The emergency floodlights on the hull flickered on, cutting into the gloom. "Ben," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You need to see this." He joined me. We weren't in the water. We were in a cavern, a bubble of air, so vast the floodlights didn't hit the ceiling. And we weren't alone. The Tempest was resting on a mountain made of metal. It was a graveyard. Ships. Dozens of them. Hundreds. A Spanish galleon, its mast snapped, was lying next to a U-boat. A 1950s cargo freighter was wedged against a modern container ship, and everywhere, airplanes. World War II fighters. A 1970s passenger jet, its fuselage cracked open. "Flight 19, I whispered, pointing. "Look, not just the 5 Avengers. Dozens of them. This was where they all went. This was the center of the triangle." "Aris," Ben said, his voice trembling. "The Ethelred." I followed his gaze. The black ship was here too. It had fallen with us. It was broken in two, jammed against the cavern wall a mile away. Dead. Silent. We were trapped. We had left our world and entered a new one. A world of the lost. The silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. The Tempest was groaning, the sound of metal in agony. But outside, nothing. No wind, no waves, no birds. Just the drip, drip, drip of water from somewhere high above. "Aris," Ben said, his voice hoarse. He was checking the bridge sensors. "The air, it's breathable. Oxygen is high, 22%. Barometric pressure it's high, like we're in a valley." "We are in a valley," I said, staring out the viewport. A bubble, at the bottom of the world. A new alarm blared, a frantic, high-pitched squeal. "What is that?" "Bilge pump failure," Ben yelled, his face losing all color. "Aft compartment. We're holed. That impact. We're taking on water." "Water? But we're on top of the pile." "There's water in the pile, Aris. This whole mountain is saturated. We're not sinking in the cavern. We're sinking into the graveyard." The ship gave a sudden sickening lurch. The deck tilted another 10 degrees. This was it. The threshold. The Tempest was our home, our life raft, our world, and it was dying. How long? I asked, my voice flat. Minutes. An hour, maybe. The hull is compromised. She can't hold her own weight. She's collapsing. Gear up, I said. What? Gear up. We're leaving. Leaving? To where? Ben gestured wildly at the dark, metallic landscape. We're stranded. We're dead. We're stranded, I corrected him. We're not dead yet. Out there is a chance. In here is a guarantee. My mind went into survival mode. The fear was a cold, hard knot, but I pushed it down. Logic. Survival. Rations, I listed, throwing items into a waterproof duffel. Medical kit, water purifiers, climbing harnesses, rope, flares, portable analyzer, and the drive with the box's data. I picked up the orange box itself. The light was dead. Its task was complete. It had delivered us. Iris, this is crazy. We should stay. We should send a distress call. With what? I pointed to the shattered comms console. There's no one to call. There's no one up there. We are the only ones down here. No, Ben whispered, pointing out the viewport. We're not. I looked. Far across the cavern, a mile away, the wreck of the Ethelred, a single white pinprick of light. It moved, sweeping across the debris. They survived, I said. They have guns, Aris. They tried to kill us. They tried to get the box. Now, they're trapped here with us. The searchlight swung toward us. It paused, fixing on the Tempest. They see us. They know we're here. Good, I said, zipping the bag. Let's not be here when they arrive. I ran to the bridge wing. The ship was tilting badly now. It was a 40-foot drop to the next stable surface. A vast, flat section of an aircraft carrier. Its deck was angled, jammed against a stack of cargo containers. That's our way out, I said, securing the rope to a cleat. Wait, the Odyssey, Ben said, pointing to the sub's cradle. We can use the sub. It's self-contained. I looked. The cradle was empty. It's gone, I said. Torn loose in the fall. It's down there somewhere. We're on our own, Ben. It's just us. He stared at the empty cradle, his last hope vanishing. I grabbed his shoulder. Ben, look at me. We are alive. We are breathing. We are scientists. This is the greatest discovery in human history. We just have to live long enough to understand it. My own words sounded hollow, but they worked. He blinked, the panic receding, replaced by a grim nod. Okay. We climb. We rappelled down the slick, groaning hull of the Tempest. My feet touched the rusted, wet metal of the aircraft carrier. The air was different out here. It smelled of ozone, rust, and decay. It was thick, heavy. We unclipped from the rope and scrambled for cover. Hiding behind the carrier's island, the Tempest gave another groan, a final sigh, and its emergency lights died. It was a dark, broken shape above us. In the distance, the sound of an engine. A small, whining motor. The assault boat, Ben whispered, crouching beside me. It must have survived. We watched as the small boat, a black inflatable, navigated the dark, debris-filled water surrounding the ship mountain. Its searchlight was powerful, cutting through the gloom. It reached the base of the Tempest, and two men jumped out, securing a line. They were in full tactical gear, black uniforms, helmets, assault rifles. They're climbing our rope, Ben said. Let them, I said. They're looking for us. They're looking for the box. And they're on a sinking ship. A new sound. A deep, resonant thrum. It wasn't the small boat. It was the Ethelred. Lights were coming on all over the massive black ship. Not emergency lights. Floodlights. The ship wasn't dead. It was rebooting. He's alive, I breathed. The man in the suit. He must be in the command center. The Ethelred's main searchlight, a beam as thick as a building, snapped on. It was a pillar of pure white light. It swept across the graveyard, illuminating the impossible, terrifying scale of the cavern. It was miles wide. The ceiling was a dome of dripping rock, thousands of feet above us. And in the center of the cavern, Aris. Look. The searchlight stopped. It illuminated the peak of the ship mountain. It wasn't a ship. It was an island. A small, black rock island, pushed up by the mountain of wrecks. And on that island, something was glowing. A faint, pulsing blue light. The Ethelred's light held steady on that blue glow. "That's it," I whispered. "That's the source. That's what the box was." The searchlight gave the hunters on the Tempest all the light they needed. We heard them shouting. They must have found the empty bridge. "They know we're gone," Ben said. "And they know where we're going." The Ethelred's main cannon moved. It angled, not at us, but at the path between us and the central island. A warning shot. "It's a race," I said, grabbing the duffel bag. "They have a boat and guns. We have a head start." "A head start where?" "It's a maze." "We're climbers, Ben," I said, looking up at the treacherous vertical landscape of ships. "And they're just soldiers. We go up. We go high. We stay in the shadows." I started climbing, moving from the carrier deck to the twisted girders of a fallen crane. "Where are we going, Aris?" Ben panted, following me. "To the glowing blue light," I said. The first trial had begun. We were unarmed, hunted, and stranded in a new world. My life as a skeptic was over. My life as a survivor had just begun. The word climb doesn't do it justice. We were ascending a monument to failure. Every handhold was the edge of a tragedy, the twisted rebar of a freighter, the wing of a downed jet, the rusted porthole of a liner. The air was thick. I could taste the iron. "Keep in the shadows," I whispered, my voice echoing slightly in the vast, dead space. "Don't look down." Ben didn't answer. He was breathing hard, his focus absolute. He was a good man in a crisis. Below us, the Ethelred searchlight was a giant, sweeping eye. It was systematic. They weren't just hunting, they were mapping. The soldiers were fanning out from the base of the Tempest. They had light. They had weapons. And they were communicating, their voices sharp and clear in the cavern. "Sector 1, clear. Moving to Sector 2, use the sonar mappers." Sonar. They were mapping the inside of the wrecks. They were looking for us. "We have to get higher," I said. "They're moving on the ground level. We need to get above their line of sight." We were on the hull of a U-boat, which was lying upside down on the deck of a container ship. The containers were scattered like building blocks, creating a maze of steel canyons. "This way," I pointed. A cargo net was dangling from a tilted crane, hanging over a dark 50-foot gap. "You're kidding," Ben panted. "It's that, or we wait for them to find us." I went first. The rope was slick with mildew. I swung out over the darkness, my boots scraping against the metal. I landed hard on a stack of timber, the wood groaning in protest. "It's stable," I called back. "Come on." Ben followed. He was heavier than me, and the net slipped. He grunted, dangling, his feet kicking the air. "I can't. The rope is tearing." "Don't panic. Swing your legs. Use your momentum." The searchlight from below swept toward us. It was a race. "Now, Ben." He kicked, swung, and let go, crashing into me. We both tumbled onto the wet wood. The beam of light hit the cargo net just as it tore free, falling into the chasm. "Clear!" a voice shouted from below. They hadn't seen us. We lay there, hearts pounding, hidden in the shadow of a massive, rusted anchor. "That was too close," Ben gasped, rubbing his shoulder. "We can't stop. They're smart. They'll start looking up." We kept moving, up, always up. We climbed the anchor chain, link by link, and we crawled through the shattered superstructure of a cruise ship. Its ballroom now a vertical shaft filled with rotting tables and chairs. The scale was dizzying. I felt like an ant scaling a junk pile. The blue light on the central island was our only compass. It pulsed with a soft, steady rhythm. Thrum, thrum, thrum. "Aris," Ben said, stopping to catch his breath. "What is this place? Is it hell?" "It's physics," I said, though I wasn't sure. "A gravity well, a pocket dimension, the anomaly. It's a one-way door. It pulls things in, but it doesn't let them out." "But the air? The water?" "It's a terrarium," I said, pointing up. "Look." High above, in the rock ceiling, I could see faint, glimmering lights. Not rock. Crystals. Bioluminescence? No. It's the crystals are filtering. Water was dripping from them. The air was fresh. This cavern, it was a self-sustaining ecosystem. It was designed. Designed? By who? Or what? The people who built that, I said, pointing to the blue light. We reached a plateau. It was the deck of a 19th century clipper ship. Its masts snapped like twigs. It was lodged almost vertically, offering a clear view of the cavern. The Ethelred was a hive of activity. They had set up powerful floodlights. They were salvaging. They were cutting into their own broken stern with plasma torches. They're not just hunting, I said. They're trying to repair or build something. Look, the boat, Ben said. The assault boat was moving from the Ethelred toward the central island, its spotlight scanning the water. They're going straight for it, I said. We're climbing, but they're taking the direct route. We'll never beat them. We don't have to beat them there, I said. We just have to beat them in. They don't know what they're walking into. We have the box's data. They're going in blind. I pulled out my rugged tablet. The data I'd copied was baffling. It wasn't a language. It was frequencies, harmonics. It's like sheet music, I muttered. A sequence of notes. A shout echoed from below. We ducked. A soldier. He was on the same level as us, 200 yards away, on the deck of the container ship. He was using thermal goggles. He hadn't seen us. He was scanning the wreckage, but he was between us and the island. We're pinned, Ben whispered. We can't go forward. We can't go back. I looked around. We were on the clipper ship, old rope, tattered sails, a broken cannon. Wait, I said. What's that sound? Click, click, click. It was coming from the U-boat, just below us. That's a sonar mapper, I said. They're scanning the sub. They know we're in this sector. The soldier was walking slowly, methodically, sweeping his rifle. We had no weapons, no way to fight. We have to be smarter, I said. I looked at the cannon. It was rusted, but it was massive. It was pointed, not at the soldier, but at the container ship he was on. Ben, help me. What? With the cannon? It's a museum piece. It's useless. I don't want to fire it, I said, my mind racing. I want to move it. The cannon was on a wooden carriage. Its wheels rotted away, but it was on a severe slope. The deck of the clipper was angled at 45 degrees. It was held in place by a single, thick, rotted rope. The soldier is on a container, I said. That container is balanced on another container. Aris, no. That's insane. It's physics, I said. He's hunting us. He's the predator. We have to change the environment. I pulled my climbing axe from my belt. Don't, Ben said. He's not going to stop, I said. He will find us, and he will kill us. I started hacking at the rope. It was thick, fibrous, and tough. The soldier stopped. He'd heard it. Who's there? He yelled. His rifle light snapped on, sweeping toward us. Hack, hack. The light found us. Freeze. Hands in the air. He raised his rifle. The rope snapped. The cannon, weighing 2 tons, did not fire. It slid. It slid down the slick, angled deck with a sound like a train derailment. It crashed through the rotted railing, fell 30 feet, and struck the top container. The impact was catastrophic. The container the soldier was standing on shifted. He screamed. The entire stack, a 3-high pile of 40-foot steel boxes, groaned. And then it toppled. It fell with a slow, magnificent, terrifying crash. A domino effect of rust and steel. The soldier, the containers, all of it, vanished into the dark chasm below. A moment later, a huge splash. Silence. My ears were ringing. My arms were shaking. He's gone, Ben said, staring at the empty space. I just nodded, my breath catching in my throat. Aris! Shouts from below. The searchlight from the Ethelred snapped to our position. We were exposed. Run! I yelled. We weren't hiding anymore. We were running for our lives, and we scrambled off the clipper ship onto the next wreck, and the next. Alarms were blaring from the Ethelred now. They knew exactly where we were. They're coming, Ben shouted. They're all coming. We had bought ourselves time, but we had just declared war. We reached the edge of the main wreck mountain. The central island was close now, separated from us by 100-yard stretch of dark, still water. The blue light was pulsing, brighter now. Thrum, thrum, thrum. It was calling to us. Behind us, the sound of soldiers climbing, shouting. Ahead of us, the black boat from the Ethelred was just docking at the island. We were caught, trapped between the hunters and the destination. We were pinned. The drop to the water was 100 yards. Black, still, and promising a quick death from hypothermia or gunfire. Behind us, the shouts of the soldiers grew closer. They were navigating the wreckage faster than I'd anticipated. Ahead, on the island, the team from the assault boat was gathered at the glowing blue doorway. They're at the front door, I panted, my lungs burning. And we're locked out of the building. Aris, Ben said, his eyes scanning the chaos. The crane, the one that soldier fell from, it's pointing at the island. I looked. Not that crane. Another one. A massive dockside crane, part of a container ship that had been folded in half by the fall. Its long lattice boom extended out over the chasm, a steel finger pointing toward our goal. The main cable, I said, understanding. The hoist cable. It's a straight shot, Ben said, already moving. No, it's angled down. It's a zip line. Even better. Sector 4, a voice roared from below. On the cargo crane. I have them. Open fire. The world exploded in noise. Bullets sparked off the steel girders around us. We weren't climbing anymore. We were scrambling. Go, go, I yelled. We reached the end of the boom. The hoist cable was thick, greasy, and designed to lift 100 tons. It was perfect. Clip in. I attached my harness's main carabiner to the cable. It was a terrible, desperate idea. Aris, the soldiers are on the boom. Jump! I grabbed Ben and threw us both off the edge. The acceleration was violent. The carabiners screamed, a high-pitched metallic shriek that echoed the bullets whipping past my head. We were flying over the black water, exposed. A perfect target. A round struck the cable just above us. Sparks rained down. The cable jumped. It's fraying, Ben yelled, his voice thin with terror. Don't look, hold on. We were moving too fast. The island was rushing toward us. We can't stop, Ben shouted. We don't have to. We hit the black rock of the island, not with a gentle landing, but with a bone-jarring crash. We slammed into the obsidian slope, tumbling, our gear scraping and catching. The impact knocked the wind from my lungs. I unclipped, my hands shaking. Move. Cover. We scrambled behind a cluster of black, glassy boulders. The soldiers on the crane were still firing, but we were too low. Their shots sparked harmlessly over our heads. We were on the island. The air here was different. It was warm. The ground vibrated. The thrum, thrum, thrum was no longer in my ears. It was in my feet. The 4 soldiers from the boat were just ahead, near the pulsing blue light. They hadn't fired at us. They were confused. Sir, the breaches are set, one said. A man stepped forward, not the man in the suit. This was a lieutenant, hard, grizzled. What are you waiting for? Blow it. They're setting explosives, I whispered. On that? Ben said. The doorway was a section of the monolith. It was seamless. The blue light pulsed from the center. It looked less like a door and more like a wound. They don't know the key, I said, pulling out my tablet. The data from the orange box. The harmonics. Backblast area clear, the lieutenant yelled. We ducked. The explosion was shockingly loud in the enclosed cavern. A flash of white light, and then the heavy boom rolled over us. Smoke cleared. The soldiers stared. The black, obsidian-like stone was untouched. Not a singe mark, not a scratch. What is this stuff? A soldier muttered. Double the charge, the lieutenant ordered, his voice tight. I want that door open. The director is watching. They're idiots, I whispered. Brute force isn't the answer. This is advanced technology. It's a lock. Great, Ben said. So we wait for them to run out of C4, Or for those other soldiers to find a way across? I looked at the tablet, the frequencies, the harmonics. The box had been the key, but it was dead. It had used its power to open the vortex. But the data... Ben, your walkie-talkie, give it to me. What? You want to talk to them? No. It's a transmitter. I grabbed it from his belt. The data from the box. It's a frequency, a key. The door is listening. Aris, it's listening for a specific resonance. A note. I looked at the numbers on my tablet. 142.5 megahertz. I tuned the walkie-talkie. Static hissed. It's not just the frequency, I muttered, looking at the complex wave patterns on the tablet. It needs amplitude, a specific vocal pattern. The soldiers were placing the new charges. It's a voice lock, I breathed. A voice lock? For who? I don't know. But the box, it was trying to mimic it. I keyed the radio. I held it up to the door. I tried to hum the thrum, thrum, thrum. The blue light flickered, but held steady. It's not working, Ben said, his voice tense. The amplitude, the modulation, it's too complex for my voice. Charges set, the lieutenant yelled. We were out of time. I looked at the tablet, at the wave. It was complex, yes, but the underlying resonance. Wait, I said. The orange box. It wasn't the key. It was a map to the key. The key. It's the frequency of the anomaly itself. What? The thrum. The sound we heard before we fell. The sound of the vortex. I looked at Ben. I can't mimic it. Neither can you. So what do? We use a recording. We don't have a recording, Aris. My mind raced. The Odyssey. The Tempest. Yes, we do. The Tempest's black box. The bridge recorder. It was running when we fell. It recorded the sound. The Tempest? Aris, it's 100 feet underwater, in a pile of junk, surrounded by soldiers. No, I said. My tablet. It's always synced. The bridge logs, the audio buffer. I frantically scrolled through the tablet's secure files. My fingers were numb. Sync. Sync. Data corrupted. Data corrupted. And then, one file. Audio. Bridge. Last 60 seconds. It was fragmented, but it was there. The soldiers were backing away. Fire in the hole! Got it, I yelled. I hit play. I jammed the tablet against the walkie-talkie and keyed the mic. The sound that came out was hellish. The sound of the vortex. The screaming wind, the tearing metal of the Tempest. And underneath it all, the massive, resonating thrum. The soldiers stopped. They turned. The blue light on the door flickered. It turned white. And then, a piercing, pure green. A new sound. Not an explosion. A shift. A sound like a billion tons of sand. Moving. The seamless black stone. Dissolved. It didn't open. It retreated. It turned into a liquid, flowing back into the walls like mercury. A perfect circular doorway was open. The soldiers stared, their weapons forgotten. Now! I screamed. We broke cover. We sprinted. Stop them! The lieutenant roared, raising his rifle. We ran past the stunned soldiers. They were too surprised to react instantly. We dove through the liquid archway. The moment our feet cleared the threshold, the liquid stone snapped back. A sound like a bank vault ceiling. We were inside. They were outside. We were in total, absolute darkness. Aris? Ben's voice was shaky. Aris, I can't see. My lighter. Don't, I said. Wait. A hum started. It vibrated the floor. A light flickered on, not a bulb. The walls themselves. A soft, white, ambient glow. We were in a massive, circular chamber. The walls weren't stone. They were a pale, ceramic-like metal that felt warm to the touch. There was no furniture, no controls, just the room, and the thing in the center. My God, Ben whispered, stepping forward. In the middle of the room, a column of blue light shot from the floor to the ceiling, and suspended within it was a map, A three-dimensional, holographic map. It was moving. I stepped closer. It's the cavern. I could see it all. The vast dome of rock, the mountain of wrecks. I could see the Tempest, a tiny broken shape. I could see the Ethelred, a larger cracked scar. It's a real-time scan, I said. On the map, tiny red dots were clustered outside our door. The soldiers. I reached out my hand. My fingers passed through the light. The map shifted. It zoomed in where I touched. I touched the representation of the island we were on. The map zoomed out, showing the island. And what was beneath it? It wasn't rock, it was a machine. The island, the monolith, this room, it was all one massive, impossibly ancient ship. Ben, I said, my voice trembling with an awe so profound it bordered on terror. This isn't an island. This isn't a temple. What is it? It's the bridge. We're on the bridge. I couldn't breathe. My mind, which had been racing with pure survival instinct, was now paralyzed by discovery. A ship, Ben stammered, walking in a slow circle around the holographic map. But who built this? When? A long time ago, I said, my hand still extended toward the light. The map wasn't just visual. I could feel it, a faint static against my skin, like touching an old television screen. It's a control system, I whispered. Aris, look at the red dots. The cluster of red dots, the soldiers, were still grouped outside the sealed door. They were agitated, moving back and forth. They were trapped. We're safe, Ben said, a long, shuddering sigh of relief escaping him. We're safe. That was the false victory. The moment we thought we had won. I touched the map again, zooming in on the Ethelred, the black, broken ship. It wasn't dead. Tiny blue dots were moving inside it. The crew. And one, larger, brighter dot. It was on the Ethelred's bridge. The director, I said. The man in the suit. He's still on his ship. He's trapped, too. They all are. Ben let his heavy pack slide to the floor. We did it, Aris. We found it. Whatever it is. This is everything. He was right. This was the discovery of all time. This machine, this thing, was the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. I explored the map. I touched the roof of the cavern. The map zoomed out. I gasped. The cavern was just a bubble. The map showed the rock around the bubble, and energy conduits. No, tunnels. Leading out from this central ship. They spread like a spider's web under the entire Atlantic. Ben, it's not a ship. Not just a ship. It's a station. A lighthouse. A lighthouse? For what? Or a trap, I said. I touched a part of the map that showed the vortex we fell through. It was represented as a spiraling column of energy originating from here. This machine, I said. It creates the anomaly. It's a collector. It's fishing, Ben whispered, his eyes wide. It's pulling ships in. For what? Spare parts? I looked at the mountain of wrecks we had just climbed. A junk pile collected over centuries. I don't know. The room was vast, but empty. No chairs, no consoles, just the map. The controls must be the map itself, I said. I tried to push a part of the map. Nothing. I tried to swipe. Nothing. It's locked, I said. Or, it only responds to its owners. Who are long gone, Ben said. He ran his hand along the smooth, pale wall. What is this stuff? It feels alive, warm, a new sound, a low, scraping, grinding noise. It wasn't coming from the map. It was coming from the door. We both froze. Aris, Ben said, his voice a terrified whisper. We looked at the holographic map. The red dots were gone. Where did they go? The door is sealed. No, I said, my heart sinking. The map is a scanner. If the dots are gone, it means it can't see them. They're inside. The grinding sound grew louder. But how? The door, my frequency trick. A voice. Not from the door, from all around us. The same synthesized, cold voice as the loudspeaker. A clever trick, Dr. Thorne. using the vortex's own resonance. I hadn't considered that. I was trying to brute force the harmonic sequence. You saved me a great deal of time. The voice was coming from the walls. He had hacked the room. Who are you? I yelled. I am the director, and you are standing in my cathedral. The wall dissolved. Not the door. The wall. A 10-foot section of the pale, warm metal turned to liquid mercury and flowed away. The man in the suit stood there. He wasn't wet. He wasn't injured. He was flanked by two of his elite soldiers. Behind them, a dark, freshly cut tunnel in the rock. You cut through? Ben stammered. This ancient technology is impressive, the director said, stepping into the room. He brushed a speck of dust from his sleeve. But it is stone. And rock. And my plasma cutters are modern. We came in through the floor. This was the midpoint. The victory had lasted less than 5 minutes. You knew about this place? I said, standing between him and the map. Of course. My family has been searching for this for 3 generations. We called it the Source. My grandfather called it Atlantis. He believed it was the power that sank his continent. He was, it seems, correct. So you caused the Ethelred to be sacrificed? The director smiled. It was a cold, thin gesture. A calculated loss, Doctor. I knew the anomaly was active. I needed a key. I knew the beacon in the FT-28 was broadcasting, but I couldn't get to it. You were my salvage team, my lure. I had been his tool from the very beginning. You let us find the box, I said, the pieces clicking into place. You let us follow the coordinate. You chased us, to make us run, to force us to open the gate. Preciso, he said. And now, you've opened the inner sanctum. I thank you. The box is dead, I said, bluffing. The data is gone. You can't control this place. I don't need the box, the director said, walking past me, his eyes fixed on the holographic map. I just needed the room. He raised his hand, not to the map, but to his own ear. Activate the resonance core, he commanded. A low hum. His soldiers were wheeling in a large, black, metallic case. They opened it. It was a device. Coils of copper, a central crystal. You can't interface, I said. The technology is alien. You think in terms of plugs and wires? He said with a sigh. I think in terms of influence. Your walkie-talkie was a rock. This is a symphony. His team activated the device. It let out a high, piercing whine. The holographic map flickered. It turned red. What are you doing? I demanded. The system is dormant, the director said. It's on standby. It's been fishing, yes, but its main power, the core, is offline. I am turning it back on. You don't know what you're doing. You're in a system you don't understand. I understand power, Dr. Thorne. The thrum, thrum, thrum in the floor began to accelerate. It was no longer a heartbeat. It was a drum roll. The blue light in the center of the map brightened. The column of light expanded. Ben, get back, I yelled. The light was becoming hot. Director, one of his own soldiers yelled. The energy readings, they're exponential. It's unstable. It's power, the director hissed, his face illuminated in the blue light, his eyes wide with fanaticism. The power that ruled the world. This was it, the all is lost moment. He thought he was winning. You're not turning it on, I said, my blood running cold as I looked at the map. You're breaking it. The map was flashing, warning symbols in a language I couldn't read, but the meaning was universal. Red, flashing, danger. The whole room, the whole island, began to shake. Not a gentle vibration, a violent, bone-jarring earthquake. Sir, the soldier yelled again. The containment. It's failing. The core is overloading. No, the director screamed. It's more. You've started a self-destruct, I shouted over the roar. You've overloaded the core. The director looked at me, his mask of control finally cracking, replaced by a dawning animal terror. He had won, and in doing so, He had just killed us all. The holographic map dissolved into a blinding sphere of white light. The ambient light in the room died. We were plunged into darkness, lit only by the terrifying, expanding, unstable white light of the overloading core. All is lost, Ben whispered, grabbing my arm. The soldiers were trying to run, but the exit they had cut was gone, caved in by the quake. The director was just staring, laughing. A high, thin, insane laugh. I had been a skeptic. I had been an explorer. I had been a survivor. Now, I was just a witness to the end. The room was coming apart. The noise was a physical weight, a solid wall of sound. The director's insane laughter was swallowed by the shriek of the overloading core. "Aris!" Ben screamed, pulling me back as a piece of the ceiling, a pale, liquid metal stalactite, crashed to the floor, spattering like hot wax. "We're dead. The walls, they're melting." He was right. The director's hack hadn't just bypassed the door. It had fundamentally broken the containment field of the entire room. The ancient, warm walls were dissolving. The director's 2 soldiers were no longer pointing guns. They were clawing at the collapsed rubble of their entry tunnel. "Sir, we're sealed in. The tunnel's gone." "Of course it's gone," the director screamed, his voice giddy with madness. He was bathed in the blinding white light of the core. "We are ascending. We are witnessing the birth of a god." He was lost, but his machine was not. It was still running. A high, steady, piercing whine. The source of the feedback loop. The spike driving the ancient core into oblivion. And in that, I saw the spark. "Ben!" I roared over the noise, grabbing his shoulder. "It's not a self-destruct. It's a feedback loop." "What's the difference?" he yelled. "A self-destruct is an end. A feedback loop can be broken. His machine, it's forcing the core into a runaway reaction. The system is tearing itself apart, trying to contain it." I looked at the director's black, modern device. I looked at the blinding, ancient core. "If we don't stop that machine," I said, my voice raw, "this entire island, this entire cavern, will implode. It will collapse into a singularity." The director turned, his eyes pure, ecstatic madness. "No one stops progress." He and his 2 soldiers raised their rifles. They weren't trying to escape. They were protecting the machine. They would die for their mad god. We were trapped. This was the true all is lost. The solution was 20 feet away, but it was guarded by fanatics with automatic weapons. "Aris, what do we do?" Ben pleaded. He was clutching his pack, his knuckles white. "We have nothing." My mind raced. We had no guns, no leverage. No, we had knowledge. "He's wrong," I whispered. "The system, it's not just failing, it's fighting." "What?" "The walls. They're dissolving. It's rerouting. The system is cutting power to non-essential systems, like structural integrity, to feed the containment field. It's trying to save itself." As if in answer, the thrum in the floor changed. It focused, from a chaotic roar into a single, high-pitched, agonizing screech. The blinding white light in the center contracted. For a split second, the visual static cleared, and I saw it. The hologram was back. It wasn't a map of the cavern. It was a schematic. A detailed, 3-dimensional schematic of the core itself. And it was flashing red. Warning. Overload. Integrity, failure. But one single point on the schematic was glowing green. A manual protocol. "The failsafe," I whispered, my heart hammering. "It's not trying to stop the overload. It's too late for that. It's trying to vent." "Vent?" Ben yelled. "Vent where?" "Up. Back through the vortex. The way we came in. It's going to release the pressure." "A burst of energy? That's good, right? It saves us." "No," I said, my blood running cold. "It's going to vent all the energy. A plasma burst. It will sterilize this entire cavern. We'll be vaporized." The director saw it too. His madness cracked, replaced by a flicker of pure animal terror. "No, not yet. It's not stable." He began hammering at his own device. trying to regain control of the monster he'd unleashed. We're cooked if it vents, I said, and we're crushed if it doesn't. I looked at the schematic, the green vent protocol, but I also remembered what I saw before. The tunnels, I said, the plan hitting me, bold and desperate. What tunnels? The map. Before it crashed, it showed tunnels, conduits, spreading out from the station under the seabed like a spider's web. They're ancient, they're probably collapsed. But they're there. I can't stop the overload, but maybe I can redirect it. I looked at the schematic. I looked at the director's machine. He's using a blunt instrument, I said. He's scrambling the system, but I still have the key. I tapped my tablet, the harmonic data. Aris, what's the plan? This was it, the final desperate gamble. The system is fighting him. The director is fighting the system. They're in a tug of war. I'm going to cut the rope. How? 2 parts, I said, my mind suddenly calm, the chaos fading into sharp, clear focus. First, his machine. It's the source of the feedback. It has to go. The soldiers, they're distracted. They're focused on the core. I need you to break it. Create a power surge, a fluctuation, just for 1 second. It's our only chance. Break it? Ben looked at his hands, then at our duffel bag on the floor. His eyes landed on the climbing axe. With what? With that, I said. Your climbing axe. Be brave, Ben. Not smart, just brave. Go for the copper coils. I need that high-pitched whine to stop. And you? He said, his face pale but set. The moment you break that loop, the system will be free. It will try to vent, but I'll be at the interface. I'm going to use your opening to convince it to vent into the tunnels, into the rock, anywhere but up. Aris, you'll have to get in the light. I know. Ben nodded. He picked up the axe. A rock, he muttered. He called your walkie-talkie a rock. Let's show him what a rock can do. Ben, just get us home, Aris. He took a deep breath, and he charged. Ben didn't hesitate. He didn't shout a battle cry. He just roared. A raw, terrified, and unbelievably brave sound. He sprinted, the climbing axe raised high. Intruder! One of the soldiers yelled, spinning. The room erupted in automatic gunfire. The sound was deafening, a physical hammer blow in the confined, melting space. Ben didn't stop. He didn't swerve. He was a missile. That was my cue. While their guns were on Ben, I moved. I didn't run away. I ran toward the core, toward the blinding, screaming light. The other one! The director shrieked. Stop him! He's the threat! Ben was on them. He was not a soldier. He was a force of nature. He swung the axe. I heard a scream, a clang of metal on metal. One soldier turned his rifle toward me. He fired, but the room was shaking so violently, he missed. The bullets went wide, striking the liquid wall behind me, which swallowed them. Then I was past him. I reached the heart of the chaos. The holographic schematic was right in front of me, a violent, flashing map of its own death. I didn't hesitate. I plunged my hands into the light. It was not hot. It was cold. A piercing, electric cold that felt like a million needles jabbing every nerve in my body. My tablet was in my left hand. It lit up, the screen flickering, the harmonic data from the orange box reacting to the core. I was in. I was connected. Aris! Ben screamed. I looked. A split second. Ben was down. He was on the floor, clutching his leg. The climbing axe was embedded in the director's machine. The copper coils were shattered. The high-pitched whine stopped. The feedback loop was broken. Yes! I screamed. But the room didn't quiet down. The core's shriek became deeper. The system was free, and it was defaulting. The holographic schematic flashed a new, terrifying message. Emergency protocol. Core vent. T-minus 10 seconds. Vector. Vertical. It was going to blow. Up. Just as I'd feared. Ben! I yelled, turning back to the interface. Aris! The director's voice. He was there. His suit was torn. His face was bloody from Ben's attack. But he had a pistol. You ruined everything, he hissed, raising the gun. I had no time. Him or the core. I chose the core. I ignored him. I focused on the schematic. 10 seconds. 9. My hands flew. I wasn't just touching the map. I was conducting it. The harmonic key on my tablet. It wasn't a password, it was a language. I found the tunnel network. The spider's web. 8. I played the harmonic frequency. The sound shrieked from my tablet. The core listened. The schematic flickered. The vertical vector flashed yellow. It was asking for a new command. 7. I grabbed the energy icon, the white-hot ball of the core, and I dragged it. A physical, agonizing act of will. I dragged it from the vertical path to the horizontal tunnel network. The director fired. Pain. Searing, white-hot pain in my left shoulder. I screamed. I fell back, out of the light. My tablet clattered to the floor. 6. It is over, Doctor, the director panted, walking toward me, his gun steady. My machine is broken, but I will not let you change the outcome. Ben was trying to crawl. No. 5. The director aimed the pistol at my head. This is the end. I looked at the core, the command. It was still pending. Yellow. It needed confirmation. My tablet. It was on the floor, screen up, just out of reach. 4. I had to get back in. I didn't try to stand. I dove. I rolled, ignoring the fire in my shoulder, and thrust my right hand, my good hand, back into the holographic light. 3. The director fired again. The bullet missed, because at that exact moment, the core pulsed. The system was fighting back. A wave of pure force, not energy, but gravity, washed out from the center. It struck the director like a physical blow. He was thrown backward, tumbling over his own broken machine, and slammed into the far wall. He didn't get up. 2. I was in. The light was tearing at my arm. The schematic was screaming at me. Confirm? I didn't have the tablet. I didn't have the harmonic key. 1. I roared, channeling all my fear and rage. I didn't use the key. I used my will. I jammed my fist onto the horizontal icon. I didn't just press it. I hit it. A brute force move, just like the director. Go! I screamed. 0. For 1 eternal second, silence. The shriek stopped. The shaking stopped. The light died. Total darkness. Total silence. Aris? Ben's voice was a weak whisper. Then, the thrum. It started low. A deep, resonant bass note, deeper than anything I had ever felt. A new light appeared. The core was no longer white. It was a solid, stable, and unbelievably powerful blue. It was no longer screaming. It was singing. Aris, Ben breathed. You did it. I looked at the schematic. It was stable. The energy was flowing out, not up, sideways. I think so, I panted, pulling my arm back. It was numb, scorched by the cold. I crawled over to Ben. The bullet had torn through his thigh. It was bad, but not arterial. We're alive, he whispered, a delirious grin on his face. I grabbed our med kit. We're alive. I won. I had prevented the disaster. I had saved us. I had saved the cavern. This was the win. This was the reward. But as I tied the tourniquet, the deep, singing thrum changed. It was getting louder. The room was shaking again. Not the chaotic shake of an overload. This was a steady, rhythmic, building vibration. Aris, Ben said, his grin fading. The floor. I looked down. The floor was cracking. I looked at the director. He was stirring, groaning against the far wall. He was looking at me, and he was smiling. You fool, he coughed, blood trickling from his mouth. You didn't stop it. It's stable, I yelled. I redirected the blast. Yes, he hissed. You did. You channeled all that energy, the power of a sun, and you aimed it at the foundation. My blood ran cold. You didn't stop the self-destruct, he whispered, his smile widening. You just changed what it destroys. The shaking intensified. A sound, like a mountain breaking in half, came from below us. Aris, Ben said, his eyes wide with a new, dawning horror. The ship, the station. I looked at the schematic. The energy was flowing into the tunnels. But the tunnels, they were cracking. The energy was too much. The station was breaking free. He's right, I whispered. I just turned on the engines. Engines? This whole island, it's tearing itself apart. The director's last, gasping laugh was swallowed by a roar that shook the world. The escape had just begun. The director's laugh was swallowed by the sound of a world breaking. He was right. I hadn't stopped the bomb. I had just aimed it. The floor didn't just shake, it tilted. The entire station, the entire island, was tearing itself from the cavern floor. "Aris!" Ben yelled, his voice thin with pain and terror. "The ceiling!" I looked up. The stable, blue, singing core was no longer just a hologram. It was a physical column of energy, a solid beam of impossible power. It had punched a clean, molten hole through the roof of the control room, through the rock of the island itself. It was venting, just as I'd planned, but the recoil was acting like a rocket engine. We were on a mountain that had just turned on its thrusters. "That's our way out," I shouted, my voice raw. "Out? Aris, we're inside. That beam is our guideline. We follow it up. We follow it out." I grabbed Ben, slinging his arm over my good shoulder. My left shoulder was a searing fire from the bullet. His leg was useless. We were two broken men. "Move," I grunted, dragging him toward the center of the room. The director was trying to rise. You can't." We didn't look back. We didn't care. He was a ghost, left to die in his broken cathedral. We reached the column of light. It was no longer cold. It was warm. The air thrummed with power. Around its base, the floor had melted into a perfect, glassy circle. "We can't go through it," Ben yelled. "We go around it." The hole it had cut in the ceiling was 20 feet wide. Debris was raining down. "We have to climb." I grabbed the medkit from Ben's pack. I grabbed the last of our rope. "This is going to hurt," I said. "Just go," he hissed. I threw the rope. Its hook caught on a twisted piece of rebar from the collapsing rock above. I tied Ben to myself. I put his foot in a loop. "I'm hauling," I said. "Hold on." I climbed. It was agony. Every pull was a new, fresh fire in my shoulder. Every move was a gamble. Ben was a dead weight, groaning in pain below me. But the alternative was death. The room was collapsing. The walls were folding in. I climbed, hand over hand. My muscles screamed. The rope cut into my palms. "Aris!" Ben shouted. A huge section of the wall, the pale, alien metal, tore loose and crashed onto the floor where we had just been. I didn't look. I just climbed. My hand found the jagged edge of the rock. "We're out," I yelled. I hauled Ben up, rolling us both onto the surface of the island. We weren't just out. We were on the roof. And the world was ending. The spectacle, it was terrifying. It was magnificent. The entire cavern was in chaos. The mountain of ships we had climbed, it was no longer a mountain. It was an avalanche. The station's engines had destabilized everything. The entire junk pile was sliding into the black, churning water. The water itself was rising. A massive internal tsunami was building, set in motion by the shifting of the station. "My God," Ben whispered, staring. The crystal lights in the cavern ceiling, the stars that lit the place. They were breaking loose. They were falling like comets, smashing into the wrecks below, exploding in showers of white sparks. It was a war zone, and we were at ground zero. The island was sinking, or rather, the water was rising to meet us. "We can't stay here," I said, scanning the chaos. "Where do we go?" Ben yelled. "There is no where." "Yes, there is," I pointed. "Not down. Up. High above us, in the absolute darkness of the cavern roof. A new star. A swirling, perfect blue circle. It was the vortex. The way we came in. The beam of energy from the station's core was shooting straight at it. 1,000-mile-long anchor line. "The core," I breathed, understanding. It's stabilizing the vortex. The vent, it's holding the door open. It's an exit. It's 10 miles away, Ben cried. It's the only way, I said. We have to get off this island. Now. The island gave a massive lurch. A fissure, a canyon, split the black rock 20 feet from us. The entire station was breaking apart. The ship mountain, I said. It's our only path. It's an avalanche, Ben protested. Then we'd better ride it. I looked for the closest point. The aircraft carrier. It was still there, perched precariously on the edge of the slide. Its deck angled toward us. It was a 60-foot jump. Down. Aris, Ben said, his voice trembling. I can't make that jump. My leg. I know. I checked the knot, the rope tying us together. You're not jumping, Ben. We're falling. What? Don't fight it. Don't try to land. Just be ballast. I dragged him to the crumbling edge. I trust you, Aris, he whispered, his eyes shut tight. Don't. I grabbed him, and I leaped. We fell. The 60 feet felt like 1,000. We hit the angled deck of the carrier hard. It wasn't a landing. It was a crash. We slid, scraping on the rusted, wet metal for 100 feet. We smashed into a row of landing lights, the impact jarring my teeth. The rope held. I lay there, the world spinning, my shoulder on fire. Ben? Here, he coughed. I think I'm okay. We were alive. We were off the island. And then, the carrier moved. It wasn't a gentle shift. It was a groan. A sound of 1,000 tons of steel surrendering to gravity. The whole thing dropped. Hold on, I screamed, grabbing a tie-down cleat. We weren't on an avalanche. We were the avalanche. The entire section of the ship mountain had broken free. We were surfing. We were riding a tidal wave of dead ships. The speed was terrifying. We were moving, sliding, crashing down the side of the junk pile. Other ships, dislodged by our movement, were falling around us. A U-boat slid past us, fast, like a black torpedo, and vanished into the rising water. The superstructure of a cruise ship collapsed in front of us. We plowed right through it, a storm of rotten wood and shattered glass. Aris! Ben yelled, his voice hysterical. This is insane. Keep your head down. We were moving faster and faster, gaining momentum, heading for the churning black water at the bottom. We were going to be crushed, or drowned. I looked for a way out. Anyway. The carrier. It was on a collision course. The Ethelred, the director's broken black ship, was lodged in the cavern wall, and we were sliding straight for it. Brace for impact, I yelled. I tucked Ben's head down. I shielded him with my own body. This was it. The sound was the end of the world. The impact was so violent, it threw us from the deck. We were airborne again. We flew and landed in something soft. Not soft. Deep. Water. Cold. Shocking. Black. We were in the rising, churning, debris-filled water. Ben! I sputtered, my shoulder screaming as I tried to swim. The rope. It was pulling me down. Ben was a rock. The bag, he choked. It's snagged. His duffel bag, still tied to him, was caught on a piece of rebar from the wreck we'd hit. It was anchoring him. I went under. The cold was instant, paralyzing. No, not here. I unclipped my own harness from the rope. I was free. I kicked back to the surface, gasping. Ben! He was there, his hand just above the water, gripping the rebar. I'm stuck, Aris. The bag. I took a deep breath. I dove. The water was a soup of mud, oil, and metal. I found the strap. My knife. I cut it. The bag sank. Ben was free. I pushed him up. Swim. Swim for the wall. We swam. It was a desperate, agonizing paddle. We were two broken men in a freezing, rising ocean, in the middle of a collapsing world. My arms were numb. My shoulder was a dead weight. My hand touched rock. Here, I yelled. It's the wall. We hauled ourselves out. A small, wet, miserable ledge just above the new waterline. We collapsed, coughing, shivering, and bleeding. But we were alive. We were off the island. We were out of the avalanche. We were out of the water. I looked up. The cavern was still collapsing. The water was still rising, and the blue vortex was still there, high above us, a perfect circle of hope in a sky of falling rock. It was at least a mile, straight up. I looked at the sheer, slick cavern wall. "Okay, Ben," I panted, my teeth chattering. We're safe. For a minute. "And now?" he whispered. I looked at the impossible climb. "Now," I said, checking our single remaining rope. "The real escape begins." This wasn't climbing. This was a vertical crawl for survival. My left shoulder was a dull, throbbing ruin. Ben's leg was a useless, bloody weight. I was climbing for both of us. The cavern wall was slick with spray and ancient slime. It was a sheer, obsidian-like rock, full of cracks and handholds, but it was also alive. Thrum, thrum, thrum. The whole cavern was a resonator, singing the song of the core's redirected power. "Faster, Aris," Ben grunted from below me. I had him on a short rope, hauling him up foot by agonizing foot. The water... I didn't need to look. I could hear it. The great wave, born from the avalanche, had struck the far wall. Now, it was coming back. A rebounding tsunami, racing across the internal sea. "Don't look down," I panted, my fingers raw, my good arm trembling from the strain. I jammed my foot into a crevice. I hauled. Ben screamed as his leg scraped the rock. "Sorry," I gasped. "Don't be sorry. Just climb." We were 100 feet up, then 200. The water struck the base of the wall. Not a gentle rise. A crash. A geyser of cold, black water exploded upwards, drenching us, nearly tearing us from our holds. We clung on, flattened against the rock, as the cavern sea churned in its death throes. It's rising. Fast," Ben choked. The climb had become a race against the flood. We climbed. We passed the waterline of 1,000 years, into the dry, dusty upper regions of the cavern. We climbed through the wreckage of ships that had fallen from the vortex before the mountain had formed. A Viking longship, its dragon head pointed down, was impaled on a stalagmite. "Look," Ben whispered, awestruck. I paused, risking a glance. Below us was a boiling, black ocean, swallowing the last of the wrecks. The mountain was gone. The Ethelred was gone. The director was gone. Above us, the vortex. It was no longer a calm blue circle. The energy from the core was pulsing, and the vortex pulsed with it. It was a raging, spiraling maw of light. It looked unstable. It's beautiful," Ben said. "It's our exit," I said, resuming the climb. 1,000 feet, 2,000. My body was numb. My mind was a single, repeating word. Up. A new sound. Cracking. Not the rock. The vortex. The energy beam from the core flickered. The vortex shrank. The circle of light constricted, its edges crackling with red lightning. "Aris!" Ben yelled. "The door. It's closing." The core. The station. It was finally failing. The energy flow was breaking down. The climb was no longer a race against the water. It was a race against time. "Faster!" I yelled, finding a reserve of strength I never knew I had. I was no longer climbing. I was attacking the wall. My fingers bled. My shoulder felt like it was tearing from its socket. We reached the top, a wide, flat ledge, ringing the mouth of the vortex. But we weren't at the edge of the hole. We were on the lip. The vortex was still 100 yards away, across a crumbling, horizontal plain of rock, and it was collapsing. Thrum, thrum, thrum. The sound was weakening. The blue light was dimming. "We're too late," Ben whispered, collapsing onto the rock. We're trapped." I stared at the dying hole. No, I had not come this far. I had not survived all this. "The rope," I said. "Aris, it won't reach. It's too far." "I'm not throwing it at the vortex. I'm throwing it over it." I looked up. The ceiling, a single, massive stalactite, dripping with moisture, was hanging directly above the center of the vortex. It's 1,000 to 1 shot, Ben said. It's the only shot. I uncoiled the last of our rope. I grabbed the climbing hook. I swung it. Once. Twice. My shoulders screamed. 3 times. I let it fly. It sailed up, into the gloom. It missed. It clattered back onto the rock. Again, Ben said. I pulled it in. I swung. The pain was blinding now. I let it go. It flew. End over end. Clang. It caught. It held. It held, Ben cried. Okay, I panted. New plan. We're not climbing. We're swinging. A pendulum, Ben said. Into that? The vortex was now a flickering, angry red. The cavern was groaning, the final collapse beginning. It's the last train, I said. And it's leaving the station. I tied Ben to my harness. I can't hold us both. Not with this arm. Then don't, he said. He grabbed the rope. Ben, no, your leg. My leg is useless, but my arms work. He began to pull himself up, hand over hand, using his good leg to push off the wall. You are my engine. Now, I'm your anchor. Get me to the top. He climbed. I followed, pushing him, helping him. We reached the anchor point. We were hanging a mile above a boiling ocean, directly over a dying dimension gate. Okay, Ben panted, his face slick with sweat and tears of pain. What now? We swing, I said, and we let go. I wrapped my arms around his waist. On 3. Just go. I kicked off the cavern wall with all the strength I had left. We swung, out, over the abyss. The vortex roared beneath us. It was a hurricane of red energy. It's not high enough, Ben yelled. We're going to miss. We swung back. Again, I yelled. Push. We hit the wall. We kicked off again. Harder. We flew out. Higher. The vortex was beneath us. We were at the apex of our swing. Now, Aris, Ben screamed. Cut the rope. I pulled my knife. I held it to the line above us. This was it. I'll see you on the other side, I said. I cut the rope. We didn't fall. We were caught. The sensation was indescribable. It wasn't a wind. It was a current. It grabbed us. It pulled us. The red light was blinding. The sound was a billion voices screaming at once. I felt Ben's grip torn from my own. I was alone. I was tumbling, end over end, in a void. There was no up, no down. I was being crushed and stretched, all at once. This wasn't an escape. This was disintegration. I failed. My last thought was of the sun, the warm, yellow, surface sun, and then darkness, cold, pressure. I was wet. My lungs were on fire. I was drowning. I kicked. My body still worked. I kicked. Up. I broke the surface. I gasped, sucking in air. Salty, wonderful, real air. The sun. It was blinding. It was rising. A perfect orange dawn. I was in the ocean. The real ocean. Calm seas. Blue water. Ben! I yelled, my voice a raw croak. No answer. Ben! The wreckage. A piece of the Tempest. A flotation crate. He was clinging to it, 30 yards away. Aris! He choked, waving. We were alive. We were alive. I swam to him. I grabbed the crate. We just floated. 2 broken men, floating in a calm, empty ocean. The sun rose higher. We were alone. The Tempest was gone. The Ethelred was gone. It was over. We were back. I don't know how long we floated. An hour. A day. Then a new sound. Not a thrum. A whump, whump, whump. A Coast Guard helicopter. It was bearing down on us. They saw us. I looked at Ben. He was smiling, his eyes closed. I let my head fall back. We were rescued. The debriefing room was white, sterile. The man from the NTSB, or the Navy, or whoever he was, looked at me over his glasses. Dr. Thorne, he said, his voice flat. Let's go over it one more time. You hit a white squall. A rogue wave. No, I said. My voice was hoarse. My arm was in a sling. We were pulled into a vortex. A gravitational anomaly. There's a cavern. A ship graveyard. A cavern, he repeated, not writing it down. With a lost civilization. A station, I corrected him. A machine. Doctor, you were missing for 72 hours. You were found 300 miles from your last known position. You and your engineer were suffering from extreme hypothermia, dehydration, and significant trauma. He closed his notebook. You've been through an ordeal. The mind, it fills in the gaps. You survived a perfect storm, a 100-year event. Be proud of that. Go home. Rest. I was dismissed. My skepticism, my logic, it had been my armor. Now, it was my prison. No one would ever believe me. I walked out of the Miami hospital into the bright, hot sun. Ben was waiting in a wheelchair, a cast on his leg. He didn't say anything. He just nodded. We knew. I went back to my lab. The one on the Tempest was gone, at the bottom of a world that didn't exist. My home lab was empty. I sat in my chair. Was I mad? Did we imagine it all? I rubbed my good hand over my face. I felt a sting in my palm. I looked. A small, black, impossibly sharp splinter. It must have been from the climb, from the cavern wall. I picked at it. It was embedded deep. I grabbed a pair of tweezers. I pulled it out. It wasn't a splinter. It was a crystal, a tiny, perfect, dark crystal. I placed it on the steel table. It sat there, inert, just a rock. I sighed. Maybe they were right. I went to turn off the light, and in the darkness of the lab, a faint blue thrum. I turned. The crystal. It was pulsing, a soft, steady, beautiful blue. It wasn't over. I wasn't a skeptic. I wasn't a survivor. I was a guardian, and I knew the triangle was still waiting.